Hello my friends, in today's video we will be comparing f2.8 standard zoom's Sigma 24-70mm f2.8 DGDN and Nikon Z24-70mm f2.8s. Bright standard zoom is one of the most important components of any camera system. I believe that choosing the right standard zoom can be as important as choosing the right camera. In this video we will compare the best full-frame standard zooms for Sony E-mount and Nikon Z-mount to find out which system has an edge in this category. Nikon costs almost twice as much as the Sigma, so we will also try to find out whether it is worth the extra money. 24-70mm f2.8 is classic versatile workhorse lens in every system. It is suitable for everything from landscapes and cities to portraits and product photography. At f2.8 it is suitable for low light shooting and also blurring the background. The physical appearance of both lenses is very similar. Sigma is 125mm long and it weighs 830 grams. Nikon is longer by 1mm and lighter by 25 grams. Mounted on A7III and Z6, both are completely fine in my opinion. Both combinations are obviously front heavy, but it doesn't cause me any discomfort. The build quality is great with both. Sigma is made of metal and very high quality plastics. Both rings are also rubberized. It is super solid and it definitely looks and feels like a premium product. Surprisingly, Nikon is mostly made of plastics, but it still feels very solid. Sigma's build quality is probably slightly better just because it uses more metal, but I don't have any complaints with either. Both lenses are weather sealed. The weather sealing on Nikon seems to be very good, there is no dust underneath the front element. That is unfortunately not the case with Sigma. That one has some issues with the dust gathering underneath the front element. Fortunately, using a UV filter seems to completely fix the issue. For that reason, all of the Sigma samples in this video were shot using Freewell UV filter. Both lenses also have a proper gasket around the mount. The focusing ring on these two couldn't be more different. On Sigma it is extremely smooth with completely even resistance. On Nikon it has a lot of resistance and you can feel the friction between the plastics. A big advantage of that is that it prevents the lens from extending. Zooming ring on Sigma is much nicer to use, but the price for that is that you need to use the zoom lock to prevent the extending. The focusing ring is nicer on Sigma. It is wider, smoother and it has better surface. Nikon's focusing ring is also fine, but not particularly pleasant to use. Having said that, you can do very smooth and precise focus transitions with both lenses. Nikon also has a third ring, which can be set in the camera menu. It can control the aperture for example, but it has no clicks. Both lenses also have an AF/MF switch, which is very useful because it is not available on Sony or Nikon bodies. There is also a custom button on both, which can be programmed in the camera. One extra feature on Nikon is the display. I actually found it to be quite useful. It can show you the focal length, focusing distance, depth of field and aperture. So how about the optical qualities? I have tested these lenses with Sony A7III and Nikon Z6 II. Both cameras are most likely using the same 24-megapixel sensor with low-pass filter, so that shouldn't make a noticeable difference. At 24mm, the sharpness is great in the center of the frame on both right from f2.8. It looks basically the same at f4, f5.6 and f8. There is probably a little bit less diffraction at f11 on Sigma, but Nikon still looks very good. The corner sharpness is also very solid right from f2.8. Sigma seems to be a little bit sharper at f4. That advantage continues at f5.6 and f8. I will explain why is that later on. At 35mm, Sigma seems to be a little bit sharper in the center of the frame at f2.8 and f4. Sharpness on Nikon is still very good though. At f5.6 and f8, the sharpness is very close. The corners look very similar at f2.8. The sharpness is already very good. The sharpness improves on both at f4, but the improvement is more noticeable on Sigma. Sigma stays a little bit sharper at f5.6 and f8. At 70mm, the central sharpness at f2.8 is very good on both, but Sigma has significantly better contrast. Both are basically perfect at f4 and f5.6. f8 looks the same and therefore perfect. There is basically no visible diffraction even at f11. It is basically the same story in the corners. f2.8 already looks great, but the contrast is a little bit better on Sigma. The corners look perfect from f4 to f11. Surprisingly, both lenses use a lot of profile corrections. Sigma exhibits some amount of barrel distortion at 24mm. There is a lot more distortion on Nikon, and this is actually a very significant amount. That probably explains why Sigma beats Nikon in the corner sharpness at 24mm. With a 24-megapixel sensor, I can still say that the sharpness is excellent on both. You can use both lenses from f2.8 to f11 across the zoom range, and you will always get great results. Having said that, Sigma is a little bit sharper in the corners at 24mm, and a little bit sharper across the frame in the middle of the zoom range. The level of chromatic aberration is very low on both throughout the zoom range. The optical character is very similar. Both have very good micro contrast, and the real-world images just look very nice. I also appreciate the low-pass filters in both A7III and Z6, which makes the images look a little bit less digital, and I generally like the look that I'm getting with these lenses. Minimum focus distance with both is identical, and it is 38 cm, which translates to 0.22 magnification at the long end. That is a very good value for a standard zoom. The image quality at minimum focus distance is also excellent on both, and I don't see any ghosting. The bokeh on both lenses is exceptionally smooth. Sigma has 11 aperture blades and probably the nicest bokeh that I have seen on a standard zoom, together with Panasonic 24-70mm F2.8. Nikon only has 9 aperture blades, but the differences are pretty minor. The transitions are still very smooth, and the bokeh looks great with Nikon as well. Sigma can smooth out the outlines a little bit more, but the bokeh looks great on both. The autofocus on both lenses is fast and completely silent. Sigma was able to get the autofocus algorithm right, and I can say that it focuses just as well as the latest Sony lenses. All of the smart features work with no issues, including real-time eye autofocus in video. Focusing is very smooth, always accurate, and there is no hunting at all. That applies to both stills and video. Nikon Z6 II may have some issues with focusing in difficult situations, but that is not caused by the lens. I can say that neither of these lenses will limit the autofocus capabilities of the camera. Much like with all lenses of this type, there is no optical image stabilization in either. Both Sony and Nikon offer cameras with in-body image stabilization, which generally works well in both cases. Both lenses also have some heft to them, which helps with the stability of both setups. I have compared the in-body image stabilization in A7III and Z6 in the comparison video, so if you are interested in that, the link will be in the description. Both lenses are parfocal. This effect is likely achieved digitally on both, but it doesn't really matter. It will keep the focus as you are zooming in and out. Another attribute important for filmmaking is focus breathing. The amount on both lenses is very low. There seems to be a little bit more focus breathing with Nikon, but this amount definitely won't ruin your footage in real-world use, so that is a good result for both. To sum up, there will be a clear winner this time, and it is Sigma 24-70mm F2.8 DGDN. The main reason for that is that the Nikon costs almost twice as much, and it doesn't really beat Sigma in any category. The optical performance of both is great. The sharpness is excellent from f2.8 to f11 throughout the zoom range. Sigma is sharper in the corners at 24mm and a little bit sharper across the frame in the middle of the zoom range, so it wins in terms of sharpness by a narrow margin. The only real advantages of Nikon are better weather sealing, although Sigma claims that the issues have been resolved, and the display. Neither of those is worth paying twice as much in my opinion. Having said that, Nikon Z 24-70mm F2.8s is still an excellent lens, and it will definitely provide great results for Nikon users. Third-party lenses are still a huge advantage of E-mount, and the Sigma 24-70mm f2.8 DGDN is probably the most significant. It offers first-party performance and build quality at half price, so it is a winner of this comparison. It can also tip the scales in Sony's favor if you are deciding between A7 III and Z6 II. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.